It's been 10 days now since we first told you about Governor Asa Hutchinson and his son flying to China. It's been 10 days. And the only thing I can tell you to do is right now, because I think we've got to have a national story about this. I've been telling you, and I'm working on that. But right now, I would encourage you guys, if you guys are frustrated at the fact that it's been 10 days and the quote state end quote newspaper, I think we have a new understanding of what the word state newspaper means. It's there to protect the state. The state newspaper hasn't mentioned it yet. Interestingly enough, on that, if you go to, see, we broke the story on November 6th. Somebody today sent me a copy of the Northwest Arkansas Democrat Gazette. And they have what they call, I don't know, what would you call this? Statement of core values. That's right. Well, so to get this in digital form, I went ahead and Googled Statement of Core Values, Northwest Arkansas Democrat Gazette. And lo and behold, what comes up is a website from pressreader.com dated November the 6th. So this is something that they put in all of their publications, right? Or every so often. They're going to remind their readers, the Democrat Gazette, going to remind their readers what their core values are. Do you know what it says? Here are the core values, the statement of core values from the Northwest Arkansas Democrat Gazette. They have a few quotes here. One from Adolph Ox from 1858 to 1935 was his lifespan. To give the news impartially without fear or favor. Impartiality means reporting, editing, and delivering the news honestly, fairly, objectively, and without personal opinion or bias. Credibility is the greatest asset of any news medium, and impartiality is the greatest source of credibility. To provide the most complete report, a news organization must not cover the news, but uncover it. Boy, that last one. To provide the most complete report, a news organization must not just cover the news, but uncover it. It must follow the story wherever it leads, regardless of any preconceived ideas on what might be most newsworthy. The pursuit of truth is a noble goal of journalism, but the truth is not always apparent or known immediately. Journalists' role is therefore not to determine what they believe at that time to be the truth and reveal only that to their readers, but rather to report as completely and impartially as possible all verifiable facts so that readers, based on their own knowledge and experience, determine what they believe to be the truth. When a newspaper delivers both news and opinions, the impartiality and credibility of the news organization can be questioned. To minimize this as much as possible, there needs to be a sharp and clear distinction between news and opinion, both to those providing and consuming the news. A newspaper has 5 constituencies, including first its readers, then advertisers, then employees, then creditors, then shareholders. As long as the newspaper keeps those constituencies in that order, especially its readers, first, all constituencies will be well served. So that's the statement of the Arkansas Democrat Gazette's core values, or the Northwest Arkansas Democrat Gazette. That's not really much difference. So do you think they're putting their readers first, or do you think they're putting something else first? Readers, advertisers, employees, creditors, shareholders. Now, if you can take, this is obviously an ideal statement of core values that I'm sure there are other publications that would agree, other state publications, like, for example, Arkansas Business. Arkansas Business is a good publication. They do good stuff. Why haven't they written about Asa's son and Asa's law firm and the Chinese clients that they are getting? I had somebody call me the other day and say, would you basically describe this as laundering taxpayer money to enrich yourself via a law firm? Yeah, maybe. I mean, how do we know? I mean, it all goes into one big pot, right? Asa gives the communists money, and then the communists pay his law firm money. I mean, Asa gives the communists your money, and then the communists give Asa a cut of it. I mean, and it's like, well, maybe that's not what's going on. Well, I mean, first of all, no, that is what's going on. There's a reason those corporate clients are listed on the governor's law firm's website. When did Asa... Let's go ahead and assume that I'm assuming that Asa is still counsel to this law firm, and that's why this is such a huge deal. And until he says otherwise and tells us that he's no longer counsel to the law firm, as well as tells us when he ceased to be counsel of that law firm, I'm going to assume he is. Now, readers, advertisers, employees, creditors, shareholders, as long as a newspaper keeps those constituencies in that order, especially its readers. So let's talk about advertisers for a moment. What is this story about? Fundamentally, this story blows to pieces the government's narrative about economic development. Now, let me stop and say, I have my own personal biases against taxpayer money going. Joe's like, you have biases? I have my own problems with corporate welfare. I believe, fundamentally, that when the government is giving away taxpayer dollars to recruit, I will tell you this. I mean, if it's something like $300 million a year, and if you're going to do it, I would much rather you just give it to companies that are already in Arkansas. I don't. You know what I mean? If you're going to do that, but you're giving it to China and then you're then you're taking the money and they're paying you in your law firm. Obviously, I have my biases. Okay, I wouldn't do it at all. I would just eliminate the Arkansas corporate tax completely, and instead of spending money and giving it to Chinese communists. Anyway, but that's not going to happen, right? Because all the other states think that the government's role is to sweeten the pot to get companies to move to your state. All right, I got it. Okay, I'm going to lose that battle. I understand. I get it. But this seriously undermines what Mother Government tells us. This story, if it's reported on accurately, it blows up their economic development claims to fame. It blows it to pieces, because you've quickly learned that with all of this economic development going on, i.e. corporate welfare, giving corporations all of this taxpayer money, there appears to be a giant proscenium door, if you will, that is essentially a giant opportunity for corruption. A giant opportunity for corruption. And there is very little transparency because the Arkansas Economic Development Commission, the fact is, they don't have to report to the public many of these details between, at this time, well, any of the companies, but specifically the Chinese communists. Because they will claim that, no, this is the private foundation. The Arkansas Economic Development Commission has a private side, a nonprofit or something, and it's where they pay out bonuses to the Arkansas Secretary of Commerce, $50,000 a year the last 3-4 years, or 2 years. I can't remember how long, but it's at least two. It's at least happened twice. So, advertisers, see, that's the thing. The Arkansas Economic Development Commission spends a lot of money advertising in Arkansas news publications. Do you not remember the Jobs Governor ad campaign where they had Asa and they digitally put like a beard scruff on him, or at least it looked like it was a Photoshop job to make him look masculine or more masculine? Like a 5 o'clock shadow is what I'm trying to say. He's got a 5 o'clock shadow, and he's like the Jobs Governor, and it was all this big campaign promoting ASA and the Arkansas Economic Development Commission. They're the ones that were paying that, and it was going everywhere. I'm pretty sure it was on Talk Business. I'm pretty sure it was on Arkansas Business. You saw it everywhere. Okay, so you have these and there may be other reasons as well, but just on the fundamental aspect of advertisers, if these publications were to start to print how the governor's son is getting rich off of his dad's name, and how the governor's law firm is doing business with the same Chinese clients that he's cut $1 million checks to from your pocketbook, the taxpayer, you don't think that the Arkansas Economic Development Commission is spending a pretty dime on all these publications? They are. They don't want to lose that revenue. Or at least, that's what I think is going on. A newspaper has 5 constituencies, including first its readers, then its advertisers, then its employees, then creditors, then shareholders. Well, then you got to look at the employees, right? My first question would be, how many employees of these news publications have family members that are tied into the government somehow? That'd be my next question. I'd want to know. I'd want a list. See, we're 10 days into this, and the, quote, state newspaper, end quote, hasn't written a story about the governor and his son going to China. Last night, President Donald Trump was in Louisiana giving a rally. He started to talk about Joe Biden and Hunter Biden in Ukraine. Then he talked about Joe Biden and Hunter Biden going to China. Listen to this. See if this doesn't sound familiar at the local level. No, we're going to... it's the YouTube video, Joe. I'm sorry. It's right there. No, not the audio only. Go ahead. Right there.
Much more than I do. But he flew to China with his father on Air Force Two, which is a slightly smaller version of Air Force One. And while the vice president was going soft on China, his son picks up $1.5 billion for his stupid fund that he never did before. Meaning he could make tens of millions of dollars a year. And I was with the top Wall Street people the other day. They love us because we're setting records every week virtually in this island. So, which, by the way, means companies coming in and jobs, jobs, jobs. That's what it's about. But I was with the top guys that I was talking to them, and these are guys that do this for a living. I said, can you go into China and pick up $1.5 billion in 10 minutes? They said, impossible. I said, well, supposing like you guys, can you do it? Can't do it. Can't do it. But a guy with no experience can do it, and the fake news doesn't even want to write about it. But it will become a major campaign issue.
Stop.
It will become...
Fake news doesn't want to write about it. I mean, it's verbatim, folks. It sounds exactly like what we're going through here. Why? Why? Is it because the Chinese government is so... That's the other thing that you don't know here. We don't know if... We know that the Chinese government puts money into Hollywood to control how they write. It is also very possible that the Chinese government has bought off Arkansas news publications as well. That's another thing that is just blatant speculation, but we don't know. And why are we speculating? Because you haven't written about it. It's a giant story. It would turn this entire state against the Hutchinsons. It would turn this entire state, if they just knew, it would turn this entire state against the Hutchinsons. And so you tell me why. Why haven't they written about it? Because it doesn't matter if you are a conservative, a Republican, a Democrat, an independent, a progressive, whatever. Everybody can agree that the appearance of impropriety is wrong, but this isn't the appearance. Don't confuse the issue. The fact that the corporate clients, the Chinese communist companies, are listed on the website of the governor's law firm as clients, and they're the same, that means that they pay the governor's law firm. You don't list the corporate clients unless you're being paid. It's not the appearance. It is straight black and white impropriety. Corruption. Maybe legal, maybe not though. The telephone number is 870-275-9799. Statement of core values. I wonder if there's anyone from the Arkansas Democrat Gazette listening. I wonder if there's anyone who's being Amy Robach right now. I wonder if there's anybody like Amy Robach who had it all 3 years ago on Jeffrey Epstein, the pedophile. And for 3 years, countless girls that we may never know were continued to be trafficked to the monster Jeffrey Epstein and his buddies. It was a giant blackmail operation to keep many politicians in line, to not represent their constituents. How many, is that being done right now, but on a less scale? And instead of it being something as severe as human trafficking continuing to go on, the longer the Democrat Gazette sits on this, the longer Arkansas Business sits on this, what happens? The taxpayers and the people of this state will continue to be abused, and our votes will continue. The people who voted for Asa, without this knowledge, they're going to be outraged when they find this out. You understand? They're going to be outraged, as they should be. What about the TV networks? KATV, thank you, KATV. You ran one story on this. I'm very appreciative, but we haven't heard anything yet. I haven't seen anything else. And here's a disclaimer. It's possible that there's something else out there, but I haven't seen it. And I've been looking. Or here's one comment on our Facebook page this morning. Randy writing, when there is corruption, the real news will be reporting it, and those not talking about it either don't know about it or are covering it up. So is it a cover-up? That's the next question. Is it a cover-up that we're now 10 days into this story and just crickets? For the most part. It really is going to depend on you guys. Please go to conduitforaction.org and share the stories about Asa and China. I want to remind everybody out there that we have 2 stories that are up right now at conduitnews.com, conduitforaction.com. And these are the stories that you need to be sharing with your friends. And they need to go out. You need to text it to your friends. Everyone in your sphere of influence. Everyone in your sphere of influence. Okay, so the latest one was back on the 10th. Asa's answers / deflections on his Chinese connection. This had to do with the response that the governor gave. Joe, will you play the response the governor gave when he was asked while he was overseas, and he was asked, why is your son with you? Now, the question was very poorly framed because it gave Asa the ability to just address his son and say, well, he paid his own way. It has nothing to do with whether of course he paid his own way. This has to do with the impropriety of taking Chinese communist money in the governor's law firm while the same Chinese communists are coming to Arkansas and have gotten taxpayer money. It's queued up. So he gets this question from a reporter. You've seen this. This is what the November 10th story that's up right now at conduitforaction.org is addressing. Listen.
Speaking about your son's trip to China that coincided with your trip, and what was that all about? And
well, as Mike mentioned, as we do these trips, it's not unusual for the private sector partners to, at their own expense, go and either support the mission or to help the companies that they're interested in. For example, in this case, Ray Dillon traveled at his own expense or the expense of the company. I'm not sure which one, but he was there at the request of Sun Paper. And so he participated in part of the meetings that we had that related to Sun Paper project. Likewise, Rajesh Shakani went at his own expense to India to support our mission there. Likewise, Attorney Hutchinson, at his own expense, came here to China to support projects that are important to his client, but also very important to the state of Arkansas. He has a international immigration practice that is a little bit unique, and the visas for some of these international companies is a critical issue for them. So delighted to have that support that was paid for by the private companies and not at taxpayers' expense, and so he participated in at least one of the meetings there in China and part of the ambassador's reception.
thank you.
All right, with that, thank you all for giving some time today. Look forward to being back. See you next week.
Sorry, I love that. I love that last part. Okay, we're going to end this little press conference. Yeah, you might as well, as the governor's answering that question about his son, it's like you just kind of see one of those canes, those with the hooks on it, that you would, that goes on stage and you just get yanked off stage. Okay, with that, we're going to end this. We'll see y'all next week. All right, bye. Bye. All right, okay, bye. My goodness. So that's the one article. Again, conduitforaction.org. That headline, Asa's answers / deflections on his Chinese connections. Okay? So, that's a good one. Now, the first one, though, sets it up, makes it very easy for folks to understand. Back on November 6th, again, 10 days ago, Biden and Ukraine, Asa and China. Now, this one is the one, and I know I've seen it shared everywhere. Matter of fact, in the KATV post on Facebook where they asked the question at least once, is the governor's son benefiting from his father's position? Okay. And now the good news is they detailed, this is not about the governor's son, though. This is about the governor. That's the biggest issue I have with some of this is people's instincts are, the Ace's son is getting rich. Yeah. He's getting rich off of this. That's fine. I mean, and it's not fine, but again, that's the issue. That's not the issue. The issue is it's the governor's law firm. And we need to sear that into our brains until we hear otherwise. Until we hear the governor say, I'm no longer counsel to that law firm, or I'm not counsel to the law firm. I am listed on the law firm. It's advertised. Here is, let me see if I can't find this one. Is this the one where there's a press release here? Yeah, I've got to read this to you again. So in the press release, when the Asa Hutchinson Law Group on their own website announced that they were opening a new office in Europe, the office in Spain, it reads like this: Asa Hutchinson Law Group is a firm of lawyers and professionals with offices in the United States and a representation office in China with the following practice areas: immigration law, trademarks, labor, employment, corporate law, commercial contracts, and litigation and international arbitration. As part of their international expansion plans, they have recently opened their first office in Europe, located in Madrid. The firm offers a comprehensive and personal service tailored to the needs of each individual or company that may have personal or business interests in the United States and or Spain. So stop. So they're an international law firm that's offering access to the United States market. You've got to understand that, considering what China is doing. China sees the Asa Hutchinson Law Group as a conduit, pun intended, to get access to the United States market. With China, though, it's more insidious because China wants to be in the U.S. to steal from us. China wants to be in the U.S. to conduct espionage and to tout your credentials like the governor loves to do as somebody who used to work for Homeland Security. This is pretty shameful when you're ignoring, Congressman Rick Crawford with all of his top secret information that he has, or classified information that he has, and you're ignoring him saying we don't need to be bringing China in here. Is really, you know what? I guess you don't care so much about a strong national defense. I mean, good grief. That's one of the Republican Party of Arkansas's platform. It's on the platform, belief in strong national defense. How many more planks in the Republican Party platform can Asa Hutchinson as governor violate? Strong national defense. I mean, come on. Strategically, it's just anybody would say, knowing what we know now about the Chinese and their plans, that it makes no sense. Like, you get down in Stuttgart, okay? Those two guys, those two Chinese nationals, were indicted for stealing our rice technology. They were indicted for it. And our leadership says, you know what we need? We need more communist Chinese companies to come to Arkansas. And it has nothing to do with the fact that my law firm is going to charge them fees to help them get visas and immigrate here. See, that's why Asa Hutchinson III, in his tweets about RiseEver, when they opened their Chinese plant in Jonesboro, that's why he tweeted #immigration as he's, posing for photos and stuff with the governor. And, that's why #immigration, because he's the one responsible for securing the visas. So, this Asa Hutchinson Law Group is an international law firm that basically puts out a beacon to offer access to the United States. This press release went on. The partners of the firm, who have a vast professional experience and with great knowledge in the areas of practice they offer to clients, are Asa Hutchinson III, who focuses on commercial litigation, immigration law, and intellectual property, and whose father, Asa Hutchinson, is the firm's founder and the current governor of the state of Arkansas in the United States, with an exceptional career in both the legal profession and the public sector. Now, that sentence right there, I think, could be a violation of the Arkansas Bar Code of Ethics. Because the governor is listed as an attorney on this website. He gets top billing when you scroll over the name at the very top of the page. When you click on lawyers, in full disclosure, when you click on the word lawyers on the website, Asa the third is the first picture you see, and then Asa is the second. There are two other lawyers there. So, you know, he gets top billing on the front page of the website. Then he switched to second place, which if he's not counsel, you know, why isn't he why is he just removed entirely from the website? Okay. And then it starts talking about the rest of them who work for the law firm. And then the last paragraph, the law firm has excellent political and business relations in the United States, Mexico, and Spain, and its team of professionals has the knowledge, capacity, and resources to provide personalized services with impeccable quality in English, Spanish, and French. Excellent political and business relations in the United States. You're essentially saying, I mean, the governor has a lot to do with that, right? Because the governor is from Washington, D.C. I got a comment on Facebook from Jackie saying, you know, the governor is from Washington, D.C., and he has really brought that whole operation here in Arkansas. He really has. The Arkansas Times has a piece out. Well, it's an old piece. It's from August. I had like this wild hair this morning, and I said to myself, let's focus on Jeremy Hutchinson for a moment. Jeremy Hutchinson was taking money on the side from clients that he would pass laws for. Okay? It was a well-known fact. Everybody knew it. For years, everybody knew that the governor's nephew, Jeremy Hutchinson, would get paid extra and then go pass bills on behalf of his clients. Okay? Now, here at Conduit, we were all over this. We made the parody, the uncle, nephew, and nephew parody because we, number one, thought it was a hilarious concept, but number two, we knew that there were these loopholes. As long as the contract that Jeremy Hutchinson as an attorney would sign with the client, as long as the contract specifically said, I'm a legislator and I'm not allowed to lobby for you, so this contract specifically says no lobbying services will be done here. Okay, well, it's a contract, so I'm not going to do it. But then, of course, they would do it. And everybody knew that's what Jeremy was doing. We knew it, tried to expose it. The late Senator Linda Collins knew it. She tried to expose it. Matter of fact, she did. She ran an ethics bill that failed to pass. And you know who stood up on the Arkansas Senate floor to speak against Linda's bill and to question her directly? Senator Jeremy Hutchinson, the governor's nephew. It was a well-known, was not a secret. Everybody knew it. I guess it was a well-known secret. And you know what? The media was silent. They didn't want to know about it. They didn't want to report it. And how long did it take? How many of you knew? How many of us were waiting as the news broke for Jeremy Hutchinson to be indicted? How many of us knew? How many of us heard all of this news that people would tell you in private, but they wouldn't say publicly about Jeremy Hutchinson? And I think we're in another one of those periods with Asa and his son and this law firm and the Communist Chinese. But I think people have known about this for a very long time. Joe, the Arkansas Times story, please put it up. This was August, by the way. I'm sorry. Did I say August or September? August 20th of 2019. This is a headline from Max Brantley, the Arkansas Times. The corrupt capital, an open secret. The corrupt capital, an open secret. So in the long list of Arkansas corruption that we have extensively covered, we can now add the governor himself to the list. Because the ball is in the media's court, but the ball is in Ace's court to come out and explain this further and deny that he has anything to do. But it's his law firm. That's the problem. You've been caught. Okay. Now the question is there an investigation going on? Maybe there's been an investigation for a while. I don't know. But this was back on August 20th. Max Brantley wrote a morning thought. Who didn't know about the vast web of corruption in which Governor Hutchinson's nephew, Jeremy Hutchinson, was involved? Who didn't know? We can apply that same question this morning to the governor's the governor's son, law firm, the governor's law firm, and the Chinese clients. Who didn't know about this? An open secret that nobody talks about. And it must be one of those because we're hearing crickets from the state newspaper. It's very similar to his nephew. And I'd like for you, Joe, to scroll down to the comments because, again, these comments are 3 months old and they're about Jeremy Hutchinson and not his uncle. But listen to this. Listen to some of these comments. Because this echoes exactly what Lieutenant Governor Tim Griffin said at the Cleburne County Stars and Stripes dinner. Yeah, I remember the Republicans crowing about how it would be different once the corrupt Democrats were driven from office. But it was more like, here, hold my beer and watch this. Another one. I'm still wondering, is there anyone else other than a lawyer/legislator like Hutchinson that received $20,000 a month, totaling around $690K over a few years' time for referring cases? That's a good question. Is there anyone else? Yeah. Yeah, the governor's son taking Chinese money after the governor has given the Chinese your money. The Democrats could make a 30-second social media ad about the epidemic of corruption in recent years. Just a rogue gallery of Arkansas Republican mugshots and ominous music. So, a couple days ago, at the Cleburne County Republican dinner, Tim Griffin said, we've got to make sure that the people of Arkansas trust Republicans. They've put their trust in us, and we've got to make sure that they continue to have a reason to do so, and they don't just say, oh, they're all corrupt, he didn't say corrupt, but that they're just like the Democrats. He was talking about policy. But I will say I echo it, I agree with it, but we've got to add this corruption to it as well. Because we did say it was going to be different, didn't we? Nobody voted for Asa Hutchinson this last time thinking that his son was getting rich at his father's law firm. And the state newspaper is being the state newspaper. They're not saying a thing about it.